Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to jump right into a really deep, incredibly complex story today. We're looking at Kamlaben. She's this simple, kind-hearted woman from a small village in Gujarat, India, who lived a totally quiet life until her only daughter, Reena, insisted she move to the US. Reena had settled in America after getting married, and she really wanted her mom to come live with her and her husband, Jitu. Now, on the surface, right, this sounds like the ultimate American dream, a family reuniting across the globe. But as we're going to see, this journey actually sets the stage for a really profound look into family dynamics, unspoken expectations, and the incredibly heavy price of cultural silence.
Just think about asking yourself this: am I a guest or am I just a maid? It's a brutal question, but it's not hypothetical. This is the very real, agonizing inner monologue that starts to plague Kamlaben just a short while after she arrives. I mean, imagine leaving your entire world behind, having your whole village celebrate your departure for America, only to show up and have this really profound sense of confusion take root in your mind. We're going to use this internal dilemma as our lens today to really try and understand the deep emotional impact of her experience.
So, let's start with Section 1, the promise of care. Reena told her, "Mom, now you come here, Jitu and I will serve you a lot." You know, in Indian culture, promising to serve an elderly parent isn't just a casual thing. It's the ultimate expression of love and respect. The thing is, Kamlaben never actually wanted to go abroad. She was perfectly happy back in her village, but she just couldn't say no to her daughter's love and those endless requests. She really believed she was going to be cherished, cared for, and treated as an honored elder. Keep that promise in the back of your mind, because the contrast with what actually happens is pretty jarring.
Which brings us to Section 2. The American reality sets in. You see, the illusion of care doesn't just vanish overnight. It's way more insidious than that. When Kamlaben first got there, everything was shiny and new, the tall buildings, the different language. And for those first few days, she actually was a guest. Reena showed her around the city, they went out, it was great. But then, Phase 2 hits. Her son-in-law, Jitu, starts acting kind of cold and distant. Kamlaben brushes it off at first, figuring it's just work stress. But then Jitu drops this really casual line, saying, "Mom, now that you're staying here, you'll have to handle a little housework." She's confused, sure, but she stays quiet. And then we hit Phase 3. Literally before she knows it, she's been assigned full-time, unpaid labor. The transition from honored guest to household laborer is complete, and it happened right under her nose.
Just picture this routine. It starts at 5 a.m. She's cooking all the meals, cleaning the entire house, and doing all the laundry. From morning until night, every single household chore, big or small, falls squarely on her aging shoulders. At first, she tries to rationalize it. She thinks, well, it's my duty to do this for my daughter. But Reena gets busier and busier with office work and suddenly doesn't even have time to sit and talk with her mom anymore. And Jitu, he clearly just views her as a mechanism for getting the house cleaned. Imagine the sheer physical toll this takes on an elderly woman who thought she was coming over to be taken care of.
So one day, she's absolutely exhausted, and Kamlaben gently suggests maybe they do a little less work that day because she's just not feeling well. Jitu looks right at her and says, "Mom, everyone has to work here, it's not for resting." The tone isn't warm or familial at all, it's entirely clinical, utilitarian. Those words literally hurt Kamlaben. It's the moment it clicks for her and she realizes, I am absolutely not a guest here. Something is very wrong. The whole illusion is stripped away by this incredibly unsympathetic response to her failing health.
So why doesn't she say anything? That's Section 3, the trap of cultural silence. It all comes down to this one thought. So my daughter's home doesn't break. Every single time Kamlaben thinks about telling Reena how cold Jitu is being or about the crazy burden of the chores, she stops herself the second she sees her daughter looking happy. This is a massive cultural norm at play here. A mother will sacrifice an unbelievable amount of personal dignity, endure pure physical exhaustion, and just swallow her own pain, all to make sure her child's marriage stays intact. She internalizes all of that suffering because she's terrified that speaking up might cause a rift between Reena and Jitu.
She is completely paralyzed by these cultural expectations. It's an impossible choice, right? On one hand, she can speak up for her own self-respect and her actual physical health. On the other hand, she can stay silent to protect her daughter's marriage. Even when Jitu starts openly insulting her cooking, literally telling her it runs according to us here, not you, which brings her to tears, she still chooses silence. It's this heartbreaking paralysis that's born out of a mother's completely selfless but ultimately super destructive sacrifice.
Moving to Section 4, the heartbreaking overheard truth.
Put yourself in her shoes for a second. You're already struggling, you're exhausted, and then you walk past a room and overhear your son-in-law on the phone saying, "Called mom here. No need for an outside maid now. She will handle all the work." Just let that harsh reality sink in. It absolutely shatters her heart, along with any tiny lingering illusions she might have still had. The exploitation, which had been kind of unspoken up to this point, is now totally explicit, undeniable. She wasn't brought to America out of love, she was imported for free labor. She literally spends the entire night wide awake with that single sentence just echoing in her head.
Look, we really need to call this what it is. It's exploitation, treating someone unfairly to benefit from their work. But the truly dangerous part, and we see this perfectly in Kamlaben's story, is how it gets masked as familial duty. Jitu isn't hiring a worker. He's leveraging deep cultural obligations so he can get all the benefits of a live-in maid without spending a dime. He's using the guise of family to trap her in this dynamic. The American dream is completely morphed into familial exploitation.
And that brings us to Section 5, the breaking point.
The very next morning, Kamlaben wakes up fully realizing she is a maid, not a guest. She actually tries to talk to Reena before work, but Jitu shoots her this cold warning glare that silences her all over again. But by the evening, the dam breaks. She just can't hold it in anymore. When Reena comes home and asks if she's okay, Kamlaben bursts into tears. She spills the whole thing. Jitu's behavior, the crushing weight of the chores, and finally, that devastating phone call she overheard. Reena is completely shaken. She cannot believe her husband would do this, and she promises she's going to confront him. For a second, Kamlaben feels this tiny sliver of hope.
But of course, the confrontation goes terribly. When Reena asks Jitu point blank if he only brought her mom here to work, Jitu actually pauses. And then he laughs, and he drops this completely unrepentant justification. She lives here, eats here, so she has to do some work. What's wrong with that? Reena is horrified, telling him firmly that her mother is a guest. But Jitu doubles down. He says it's his house, and he decides what happens. Now, seeing this huge fight blow up, Kamlaben starts to panic. She actually jumps in and begs them to stop fighting, terrified that her worst fear is coming true, that she is breaking her daughter's home. But Reena holds her ground, saying she won't stay silent. And Jitu, he basically just says, "Do whatever you want. I'm not changing."
After that, the house just falls into this eerie, incredibly heavy silence. Nobody speaks for the rest of the night. Kamlaben retreats to her room completely alone with her thoughts. And we're left with this heavy question. What is the cost of speaking the truth? She finally chose to speak up to protect her own dignity, but doing so instantly triggered the exact nightmare she was trying to avoid, a massive fracture in her daughter's marriage. Was it worth it? How are they possibly going to resolve this? I really hope this explainer helped you understand the immense emotional weight of Kamlaben's journey. Thanks so much for diving into this with me.